the new Kia K4 and it replaces the Cerato. I actually really like the previous Cerato GT. This is the GT line, so it's not quite, I guess, as focused on sportiness as the previous Cerato GT. And in fact, there are some elements here that tell me that it's not aiming to be as sporty as the previous Cerato GT. Firstly, the design, it looks very modern, futuristic. It's got a bit of that space egg kind of theme going on where it's, you know, almost looks like an EV. It definitely looks much bigger than the previous model though. That's the main thing I notice, and it is bigger. It's 70 millimeters longer and 50 millimeters wider. Being the GT line, you also got a lot of black highlights. So you'll notice the side skirting, the wheel arches, and then the side mirrors, window surrounds, and then this example's got a sunroof with a big glass panel, which kind of makes it look like it's got a black roof as well. And then lots of black trimmings in the front grille section. There is a pretty big change under the bonnet. It's still a 1.6 turbo petrol, but it now produces 142 kilowatts, down from 150. And instead of being matched to a CVT, a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, it now has the 8-speed, kind of similar to the way the Kia Seltos went from a dual clutch to an 8-speed as well. It's not the 8-speed dual clutch from models like the i30N, Sonata N line and so on. It's just a normal torque converter 8-speed automatic, which is pretty good. I think a dual clutch is definitely good when you're in a sports car because you can want those fast changes. It also helps with economy a little bit as well, but I think the sacrifice is not really worth it unless it is a pretty serious sports car. So that's what I mean about this. It's not as sporty. I mean, it's the GT line, it's not a GT, but it's just more focused on being appealing to a wider range of the market. And with that 8-speed, it is definitely more comfortable, doesn't roll back on heels or anything like that, but it's still very quick and there's a lot of ratios there to try and make best use of the available torque from the engine. It still produces 265 Newton meters as well. And if we have a look at the interior, yeah, much more modern and, you know, futuristic compared with the old Cerato, but it still has lots of practicality measures, such as the spin around cup holders with heaps of storage, a wireless phone charging pad at the front there, and then nice big bottle holders in the doors. Lots of physical buttons as well, including on the steering wheel. I like Hyundai Kia's layout for the steering wheel buttons. They're just around the opposite way, I think, for Hyundai and Kia. But yeah, you've got all your cruise control on one side, then all of the toggles and everything for the instrument cluster on the other side. In the back, yeah, even more space. Like, not that the Cerato was small to begin with, it was probably one of the most spacious. So it's starting to get a bit dark and there's a lot of rain around the corner, but hopefully you can see that okay. But yeah, plenty of room in here. It's more spacious than the Cerato, I think. Headroom is, I mean, it's getting close to my head, but probably due to the sunroof. So if you just got a normal K4 without the sunroof, it might be a bit better in terms of the perception of space. But yeah, heaps of leg room there. Like I've got no problem at all finding some comfort. And even the center console tunnel there is almost flat. You've got climate vents and twin USB-C charging ports as well. And then up at the back, we've got a tiny bit more boot space, 508 litres now, up from 503, I think, in the Cerato sedan. You do have a space saver spare wheel under the floor. You've got little pull tabs to pop down the rear seats, so you don't actually, you know, miss out on too much in terms of practicality. You can feed through some furniture that's quite wide between the suspension towers compared with the hatchback. I mean, the hatchback is more practical because you can pop it up and it's like a wagon, whereas here you're going to be restricted due to this piece running across there. But in terms of length, it's actually pretty good. There might actually be a little bit more length compared with the hatchback. So if you are carrying a surfboard or something like that, you might be better off with the sedan. We'll go for a drive and see how it handles and how it goes. I'm keen to test out that 8-speed automatic, and we'll do the full performance test later on as well to see how it compares with the old Cerato GT. The new model jumps to Hyundai Kia's latest K3 platform. I know that sounds a bit confusing considering this is called the K4. Basically, the Cerato is based on the K2 platform. It just means it's got the latest technology, the latest safety gear and all of that, and that engine is now a SmartStream engine as opposed to being a Gamma engine. According to Redbook, the compression ratio has increased from 10 to 10.1 to 1, and emissions has actually increased a little bit too, according to Red Book. So it used to be 157 grams per kilometre, now it's 158, even though it does produce less power. But with that new platform, it's grown in dimensions. There's about 20 millimetres added to the wheelbase, so that gives you a bit of an idea of the extra room inside. But it does mean it is a little bit heavier. This weighs it's about 60 kilograms heavier than the equivalent Cerato GT sedan. That's probably why the emissions are a little bit higher. Fuel economy has improved though. It's gone from 6.9 now down to 6.7, and I'm averaging 7.4 at the moment too, which is pretty good for the real world for a turbo petrol engine. I reckon you could get that even a little bit lower with more highway use. This has got low kilometers on it. I mean, it's got 6,000 kilometers, so the engine is definitely run in, but maybe when it's got about 20,000 kilometers on it, it might actually be even lower consumption. It still feels really good on the road. As I said, the suspension is, well, the sort of the theme to this is now GT line rather than GT. And yeah, it is a little bit softer in terms of the ride quality and comfort. And I think that's going to be a good thing for most people, because the Cerato GT was quite firm and actually what I would describe as almost hot hatch suspension. Like it was definitely quite rigid, and you'd, you know, hit little bumps and so on, and you definitely feel them. Whereas now it's much more absorbent, it's much more adaptable. Like going over this bumpy road here, it's just, yeah, there's a lot of wheel movement happening, but the body is still very stable. It's not gone too soft, I don't think. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to appeal to a wider range of buyers. It still handles really good, like it's poking through these corners and everything. Excellent feel through the steering. Well, for a non-hot hatch anyway, it just feels like an enjoyable vehicle to drive and very capable. Like even in the greasy conditions here, I'm just throwing it in the corner. There is a tiny bit of body roll happening, but it's at a sort of playful level. Yeah, I think this is probably the ideal setup for a road vehicle. It's comfortable, it's not throwing me around, but it's still sporty and up for some, you know, dry, winding roads and so on. As for the engine, it's still got that little faint turbo-y kind of bassy note to it. I don't think it's quite as loud as the Cerato GT. That was actually pretty loud in terms of the exhaust note and all of that. And it doesn't sort of parp between the upshifts. It still does a little bit, but not as much as the dual clutch, the old dual clutch system, if that appeals to you. But there's definitely a bit of a sporty note. From the inside, I'll just slow down a bit and give it full throttle. It just sounds like a 4-cylinder really. There's nothing sporty about it, but it goes really well. Like it picks up speed. I've noticed that torque is now spread a little bit thinner. So it used to be peak torque of 265 Newton meters from 1500 to 4500. Now, according to Red Book, Red Book does get it wrong a little bit as well. That's just where I get all my stats from. It's now 1700 to 4500. So you've got a slightly smaller window. It still feels very responsive though, and it still feels like it's got a nice amount of surge low down in the revs. You do have some different driving modes to choose from. Down here on the steering wheel, you've got Eco, Normal, and Sport. I'll put it in Sport. Sorry if that sun's a bit low. And you've also got paddle shifters to change gears. It's still a pretty, you know, swift shifting gearbox. It's not quite as sharp as a dual clutch, but it no longer has rev matching by the sound of it. Let's try that again. Yeah, it doesn't have rev matching anymore. I can't actually remember if the old Cerato GT did have rev matching, actually. Yeah, that's just changing down gears, but it is changing down gears at least. It's you know, responding to my prompts. But upshifts are quick, you know, like it's a modern gearbox. It feels interactive, and it makes best use of the engine's torque and power, I guess, too. Yeah, this is a very good handling vehicle, especially for this class. Like, it feels really nice to drive, even at speed along this challenging road. It's an excellent package, it really is. The suspension, I'd probably like it to be just a tiny bit firmer, like just a little bit, because there's moments where there's a little bit too much body roll, but I totally get it. I can see what Kia is trying to do here. They're appealing to a wider audience. It still feels sporty in pretty much every circumstance. It's just when you push it really hard, which is not what this vehicle is kind of designed for anyway. If you push it really hard, yeah, you just feel that front end not quite bottom out, but it's getting there basically. But that's only when you're, you know, going at 9/10 or something like that and pushing pretty hard. The chassis and everything, as I said, it feels really good. Like it feels like this is a good foundation for a proper performance model. You've got an actual manual mode. You can just use the paddles and it will prompt kind of a manual mode, but if you flick the gear lever over, it's kind of telling it, kind of forcing it into a manual mode. We'll see if it actually redlines in the gears rather than upshifts automatically. So second gear. Yeah, so automatically upshifts. I can't remember if the old Cerato GT did. I think it redlined. Good traction around there. Excellent handling, as I said. It feels very low and flat. It's it's sportier than what this vehicle is kind of designed for, if that makes sense. Like, you'll have more fun in this than you expect, basically. And it feels, yeah, more capable than it needs to be as well. Like, it's having no problem being thrown around these corners on this winding road. Good torque there. That was third gear, just pulling nicely from low RPM, or sort of a mid-range. All right, let's head out now and do the performance test and see what it goes like. I think it's going to be slightly slower than the Cerato GT, just because this is a little bit heavier, a little bit larger.